Hello and welcome to the Power BI October 2021 update. In this video, we'll explore what's new this month and see some demos of the highlights. We have some exciting new features for you in the reporting section. First, we are happy to introduce the heat map layer to the Azure Maps visual in this release. Heat maps are used to represent the density of data using a range of colors and are also an effective way to highlight or call out specific areas of interest on a map. Heat maps are a great way to render datasets with large numbers of points. In the Azure Maps visual, you'll find the flexibility to format the heat map in a variety of ways, including data point radius, distance units, colors, opacity and intensity of the layer, zoom level, and relative position. With these options, you'll be able to customize the heat map to suit your needs. Keep in mind that as the Azure Maps visual is still in preview, you'll have to turn it on in the Preview Features section of the Options menu. Next, we've updated our direct query for Power BI datasets and Azure Analysis Services preview feature with a few improvements this month. First, we're introducing more flexibility when selecting tables to include in your connection. This includes the ability to remove a table from your model using the field list, as well as the ability to specify which tables to load at all. We've also included performance improvements across the board. Yagun will take us through a demo of the additions to this feature.
As you know, the ability to connect to a Power BI dataset or Azure Analysis Services model using direct query, allowing you to make composite models on top of them, is currently in preview. Thanks to everyone who has tried out the preview, and if you haven't, please give it a try. Previously, when you made a direct query connection to a Power BI dataset or Azure Analysis Services model, you would connect to all the tables. With this update, we're giving you more control, which is especially useful if you work with more complex models. Let's take a look. So I'm going to connect to a Power BI dataset. I already have a direct query connection to a SQL database in this data model, and since I'm going to connect to a dataset, I'm effectively creating a composite model using a direct query connection to that dataset. Let me just search for my workspace here and connect to my dataset. Now what this will do, it will ask me which tables from my dataset I want to connect to. I can select all or just a few. This is different from what we had previously. So here I see my dataset and it's loading the tables. There we go. So here are the tables. At the top, if I have a perspective or one or more perspectives, as is commonly the case in an analysis services model, I can work with those as well. Note that when you work with a perspective, you can only select a perspective to load, not the individual tables inside a perspective. So you either load the complete perspective or none at all. Okay, let's go back to the database view or the table view. So I can select all, and I'm interested in just the tables, but not the reseller and sales order table. Note there's also a little checkbox here at the bottom. If I selected this, it would automatically add to my model any table that might get added to the source after I made the connection. Let me click Submit to finish up the connection. This will now convert my data model into a composite model, right? So I expect to get the security warning. There we go. I want to build the model. So if we now switch over to the model view, you can see that the source group that is there for my dataset contains the tables from the dataset, but not the reseller and order sales. Those are missing, right? So you see that just the tables I selected were loaded. And as you can see, this makes it easier to work with complex datasets and allows you to specify exactly what subset of tables you want to load, improving performance and ease of use. Again, thanks for trying out the preview, and please keep the feedback coming.
Next, later this month, we'll be introducing a tenant-level feature switch to enable or disable the Bing Maps visual. You can find this new option in the admin portal. Moving forward, Bing Maps will require explicit opt-in for new tenants, meaning it will be disabled by default. Existing tenants should not be affected, but note that the option will now exist to disable the visual. Loading Bing Maps visuals in context where they have been disabled will result in an error only affecting that visual, which then notifies the user to contact their admin to opt in. We're expecting the change to roll out in the Power BI service later this month and in the desktop in the next release. In the modelling section, we've optimized the performance of the switch function in DAX. You should see improved performance if the switch function has a large number of values or if the value expressions contain measure references. We've also added new bitwise functions to DAX. Now you can perform bitwise operations such as shifting in DAX using the new bit-L-shift and bit-R-shift functions, as well as the bit-AND, bit-OR, and bit-XOR operations. Jeroen will show us a demo of these improvements.
We've added new bitwise functions to DAX. Now you can perform common bitwise operations. Available are bit-L-shift, bit-R-shift, which allow you to shift a number left or right by a specified number of bits. Also, we've added bitwise logical operations. Let's look at some examples. First example here is bit-L-shift. So these bitwise operations work on binary numbers. So you pass in a decimal number, we convert it to binary, and then we perform the operation. So 2 in binary is 10. So bit-L-shift adds a 0, which is binary 100, which equals 4. Bit-R-shift works in the opposite direction. It removes 0. So bit-R-shift of 42 and 2 means I'm going to take 42 in binary, which is 101010, and then I'm going to remove two zeros. That's what I specified. So I end up with 1010, which equals 10 in decimal. Onto the logical operations. So bit-AND, bit-OR, and bit-exclusive OR are available. They all do a bitwise comparison of two arguments. Bit-AND returns a 1 when both bits are 1. So I pass in 7 and 6, which is 101 and 100 in binary. That will return 100, which equals 6. Bit-OR returns a 1 if at least one of the bits is 1. So passing in the same arguments, I end up with 101 in binary, which equals 7. And then finally, bit-exclusive OR with the same parameters will return 1 if just one of the bits is 1, not when both are 1. So the result of that is going to be 1 in binary, which is the same in decimal, just 1.
In the data connectivity and preparation section, we have had several new and updated connectors for you this month. First, the Amazon Redshift connector now supports native database queries. Similar to the SQL Snowflake connectors, this will allow you to input an Amazon Redshift native query and build reports on top of it. Next, we've updated the Dataverse connector to support environment discovery. Users will be able to view a list of environments that they have access to, instead of being required to specify an environment URL. We've also updated the Google Analytics connector to use v4 APIs. Additional features in this update include improved API reliability and exposure of additional dimensions and measures not available in v3. Next, we're excited to announce the release of Azure Cosmos DB v2 connector. To query data stored in the transactional store of Azure Cosmos DB containers, we had previously released a native connector which only supported import mode. We're now releasing a new native connector, the v2 connector, which will support querying the transactional store in both direct query and import modes. In addition to supporting direct query mode, the v2 connector includes performance optimizations related to query pushdown and data serialization. We've updated the Azure Databricks connector to include support for navigation through catalog hierarchy in workspaces with Unity catalog support and enabled fast evaluation by default, providing faster processing of large imports and enabling direct SQL pass-through, providing lower latency for Databricks SQL and Databricks Runtime 8.3 and later. We've also made the Amazon Athena connector generally available. Next, we're excited to announce the release of the new SIS-CC SDMX connector. This connector allows you to easily query any public SDMX REST web service endpoint that supports the SDMX CSV output to analyze, visualize, and share data from Power BI. SDMX is an ISO International Open Standard adopted and used by statistical organizations for the production and dissemination of official statistics. We've also made the Sum Total connector generally available. With this release, the connector will now pull all OData APIs dynamically and has logic to allow bypassing of SSO login via query string parameter. We are also excited to release the new UserCube connector. UserCube is the first no-code, full-featured solution for identity governance and administration, configurable for your unique organization, process, and policies. With UserCube's Power BI integration, business reports benefit from data like user identities, entitlement details, and approval workflow tracing, giving you access to reports which are easy to create and share. Next, we have a variety of announcements in the service section. The new second-generation platform for premium capacities, or Premium Gen 2, is now generally available. The new platform provides improved resiliency and performance stability, greater scale of usage with fewer restrictions on memory utilization and concurrent refreshes, modernized monitoring of capacity metrics, and optional sizing flexibility with auto-scale capacity sizing that can increase your capacity size automatically to address any of those unplanned spikes in demand for capacity processing power. All new premium capacities will be created as Gen 2 capacities, and all existing capacities are encouraged to switch to Gen 2. In several weeks, we will automatically port legacy first-generation capacities to Gen 2. Next, we're excited to announce a new API for determining who has access to Power BI datasets. Last month, we released a preview to a set of APIs to retrieve user permissions. And this month, another API is available to help you better manage your Power BI asset inventory. The Get User Artifact Access as Admin API takes the graph ID of a user and returns lists of assets the user has access to. Very useful in cases when an employee leaves a company. The API allows you to examine all assets that the employee owns as you transfer their ownership to someone new. We are also announcing the Deployment Pipeline APIs are now generally available. With this announcement, we're also releasing a new set of APIs to create and manage pipelines through APIs, so it's faster and easier than ever before to migrate and scale with Power BI deployment pipelines. With the new set of APIs, Pro Power BI developers will be able to automatically add new workspaces to work with pipelines, standardize release processes in the organization, and manage Power BI content in their DevOps tools of choice without having to open Power BI. Next, we're pre-announcing the automatic installation of the Power BI app for Microsoft Teams. Many organizations use modern collaboration in Microsoft Teams to enable faster decision-making and action. Now, Power BI is making it easier for organizations to roll out Power BI experiences in Teams, allowing users to discover and use data where they work. Now you can be notified sooner, have richer link-sharing experiences, and access all of your data without leaving Microsoft Teams. We'll also be making a new Power BI tenant setting for this automatic installation available now, giving admins time to opt out before we begin rolling out Power BI in Teams in November 2021. To learn more about the Power BI app in Teams, check out the blog post linked in the video description below. Next, we have some updates for you in the Embedded Analytics section. First, since we launched the Export Power BI Report to File API, we had to impose a few limitations which we are now removing for premium and embedded Gen 2 capacities. The following modifications apply. The number of Power BI exports per hour is not limited to 50 per hour per capacity, but only to the 50 report pages per minute per capacity. Also, there is no maximum concurrent report pages limitation. And an export API operation load is evaluated as a slow running or background operation as described in our Premium Gen 2 capacity load evaluation documentation. We expect the Export Power BI report to file API to become generally available by the end of November 2021. Next, aligning with the Power BI Premium and Pro, we are moving the object level security feature from public preview to general availability in Power BI Embedded as well. Object level security enables model authors to secure sensitive tables or columns from report viewers. From the standpoint of the user, without proper access, the secured table or column does not exist. In addition, object names and metadata are also secured to prevent a malicious user from discovering that such an object even exists. This added layer of security prevents users without the appropriate access levels from discovering business-critical or sensitive personal information. Authoring object-level security rules in the Power BI dataset can be performed with tools that utilize the XMLA endpoint. Next, you can now set the zoom level of your embedded report programmatically by either adding a single parameter to the embed settings or using the Set Zoom API to adjust the zoom level after your report has loaded. This lets you adjust your report's zoom level to be different from the default level and to ensure that your report can be fully seen and utilized by all users, regardless of any physical or visual impairments. Next, you can now embed a report in the Playground Developer Sandbox by using your own embed token. This is in addition to the existing options of embedding a sample report or selecting one of your available Power BI reports. If you're using the Embed for Your Customers solution, you'll be generating embed tokens using REST APIs to let your app know which Power BI content can be accessed by its users and what their access level is. Once you've generated an embed token, you can enter it in the Playground to test the report and ensure that the correct content and access levels have been set. You can then continue to explore our APIs and test them out on your report. If you're using row-level security to restrict user access to data, you can test it in the Developer Sandbox by inserting an embed token generated for the relevant identity you would like to test. We also recently released the Power BI component for Angular. Using this library, you can embed Power BI reports, dashboards, tiles, visuals, Q&A, and paginated reports. You can also optimize your report's performance using the available Bootstrap integration or phased embedding, set and edit event handlers, and take advantage of the available client-side APIs. The Angular component is available on NPM and GitHub. Next, in the Developer section, you can now add modern tooltips to your custom visuals with API version 3.8.3 release or higher by adding the Support Enhanced Tooltips property to the Tooltips object in the capabilities.json file. We've also updated the Modal Dialog API with the ability to determine the size and position of the dialog relative to the originating visual. This is available with the API 4.0 release. Next, in the visualization section, we have some exciting new and updated visuals available for you on AppSource. New this month are the Acteris reporting visual by Managility, the PMBI process mining visual by ProcessM. Updated this month are the Lollipop car chart by NovaSilver, the Drill Down Time Series Pro visual by ZoomCharts, the InfoRiver visual by Lumel, the InfoRiver visual by Lumel, the hierarchical bar chart by excelandaccess.com. This month's editor's picks are the Drill Down Pi Pro visual by Zoom Charts, the Floor Plan visual by Simpson Associates, the Ultimate Waterfall visual by DataViz.Boutique, the Fraser visual by vPhrase Analytic Solutions Pvt Limited, and the Journey Chart by MAQ Software. You can find these editor's picks and all of the other mentioned visuals on AppSource. And we invite you to join us at community.powerbi.com, where you can join a user group and learn more about Power BI, or perhaps sign up to create your very own Power BI user group and become a user group leader in your local area or even your workplace. And even better, engage with our Power BI community members, our amazing super users, and so much more. Okay, that's all for this month. As always, we hope you enjoy the updates, and please keep sending us your feedback on what you'd like to see in upcoming releases. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next month.